Any other commission comments? Any comment from the audience on this? If not, thank you, Bob. The next item is the Upland Game Stamp Program.
Chairman, Commission meetings. For the record, I'm Dave Pulliam. I'm the Chief of our Habitat Division. And I guess there were a few questions on the Upland Game Stamp Program, and so I put together just a quick synopsis, a little history of it, and then I'd entertain any questions, I guess. In March of 04, 502.292 became effective. That authorized the $10 upland game bird stamp fee, or required it to hunt upland game birds, except turkeys. And as a result of that, we implemented that for that next season, and then we went to IFC to augment our budget to account for this program. One of the questions, if I understood right, was about the use of that funds for salary or such. The program itself has always included salary for a new crew in the southern Nevada area, and it began down here, and it's still down here, based on our inventory of maintenance needs for existing water developments, primarily for upland game type. And I think I may have these numbers a little bit, but even back in the 40s, Clark County put I think almost 400 water developments for quail down here, and in the 40s, quail hunting was one of the biggest economic impacts in Clark County. That might not be the same today, but it certainly was back then. We have assumed responsibility for all those water developments, and many of them are in significant disrepair, as you can imagine. They were the old cement cistern type, and they've deteriorated as a result of alkaline soils, et cetera. So the effort actually began down here, where we're trying to catch up with those maintenance needs, and we have evaluated projects, we have abandoned projects and taken them out where they were not effective or meeting any kind of wildlife objective, and we have replaced many of those with new design, functional, low maintenance units. To do that, we most effectively, we hired a crew down here to do that, and we paid their salary out of this these upland game fees. A little bit more, maybe just a summation of the types of things we've accomplished with these funds are not just water developments for upland game, but we have completed a myriad of spring exclosures, meadow exclosures throughout the state, designed to enhance a lot of sage grouse actually habitat. About 8 of those ranging in size from about 700 to 800 acres down to a few that were just smaller 10-acre types of exclosures. We've supported through those fees the trap and transplant of chukar and quail. Often dependent on the success of Oregon of getting quail for us, and I think one of the years we didn't get any birds, but we've certainly funded that program out of these funds. We have implemented upland game food plots on some of our wildlife management areas, again with a big emphasis on guzzler maintenance and some new guzzler projects. I think we've put about 15, in the last 3 or 4 years, 15 complete rebuilds, new guzzlers, about 16 brand new guzzlers, over 775 inspections and minor maintenances of facilities. We've funded some studies, some sage grouse studies on genetics and habitat use patterns. We have supported publications, a update of the Chukar Bulletin and the Sportsman's Journal that's been discussed by this group several times, and other habitat enhancement, a 400-acre pinyon juniper treatment, mainly in a sagebrush type where pinyon juniper is encroached, and we've We've taken out the pinyon juniper in hopes to reestablish a sagebrush community, mainly for sage grouse, but also benefiting mule deer. But sage grouse are the upland game connection there. I guess with that, I guess I'd just entertain any questions you may have had about the program.
I've got some questions.
You do?
Yep. At the last meeting, and I'm sure you read the minutes, I asked to get to me and the commission. I hadn't heard anything yet, but you were talking about the expenditure of labor out of this program, and you weren't doing it on the duck stamp program. And you said your interpretation of the intent of the legislation was to be able to spend it on labor. And my comment, I think, at the meeting was, where's the support for that statement?
Mm-hmm. Well, the intent, I guess the support is the work program that went to IFC that was approved in order to attain the authorization for expenditure of funds under the law, which does include salary. And I'm not sure that what you're quoting, that I understood it fully. We're not doing something with duck stamp, and we are.
Well, you're not using any duck stamp money for labor.
We haven't in the past historically used duck stamp for salaries. I don't think there's any prohibition against that, but traditionally, I've been in the department about 10 years now, and it's never been used for salary. So I think that's more a tradition than a requirement. But with Upland Game Stamp, salaries were always a part of the proposed program, the approved program, and the legislative approved budget.
The reason I asked that question, because on, Senate Bill 420 that we passed in 2003, I went through all of that, and I was trying to see where it said that you could use the salary, the ducks or the Upland Game Stamp fees for salary, and and my question was, can you put your own intent into a bill if it isn't in there or spelled out? Can you use it for salaries?
Well, I think, and I'll read you the way what the bill says, if you want that, and that is that the money must be used for the protection and propagation of upland game birds and for the acquisition, development, and preservation of habitats and upland game birds in Nevada. Right. And a part of the proposal that we have put forward for authorization through the Interim Finance Committee laid out a program of certain employees to accomplish those missions and their salary, travel, equipment, materials, et cetera, approved by IFC from year one all the way through this year now. And also, I might add, approved by the Commission every year we've proposed it. So it's been a part of the Upland Game Stamp program since its inception that we would be funding crews in the field to get the work done.
I was just asking about when you said your interpretation of the intent of the bill, where that came from, that you could spend it for that. So you're saying that salaries can be taken out of it because the salaries are eating up half the proceeds of the. Actually,
if I may, our latest, the other thing about the program is we report accomplishments, detailed expenditures to the legislature every 2 years. The latest report, which I think everyone, or all of you except the new folks have received every 2 years, is that salary was about $126,000 and of a $292,000 program.
But it's going to be up to $180,000 next year.
2010, let's see. Yeah, salary is estimated to be $160,000 next year. This year, fiscal year 10. So 11, I think we're expecting about the same level. No. Well, I might add, if you want to know a little history back sometime, when our water development programs before the Upland Game Stamp they consisted of a grant, and this federal grant was a 75-25 split, Pittman-Robinson state dollars, and it funded wildfire restoration and other habitat enhancement projects, big game water development, and upland game water development. Pittman-Robinson funds are limited and were stagnant at the time, and we had other programs that were suffering because of that. One of the reasons we tried to justify the conservation fee and the upland game fee at that time were to take those two programs, pull them out of a federal grant, and make Pittman-Robinson monies available for other programs that were suffering. So we redistributed Pittman-Robinson within the department. We run the Upland Game Stamp program independent of any federal aid. We run the conservation fee program independent of any federal aid.
So you can take the duck stamp, use that for labor too?
Yes, there's nothing that would prohibit that if we so chose. I approached it kind of as the new guy, even though I've been here about 10 years, but in the entire 10 years I've been here, duck stamp has never been used for salary. So we've just continued that. We do fund our wildlife management area folks that are managing these wetlands in the state of Nevada under a federal grant for that. We supplement a lot of the wetlands work we do both at our wildlife management areas and outside our wildlife management areas, but primarily in our wildlife management areas with duck stamp funding to fund site-specific projects.
And one other thing, you said when you're going to prepare this next time, you'd put down, we didn't have revenues received. Remember that?
Oh, yeah, and I think we was that the 09 report and 10? I think we have revenue received now, but yeah, we intend to make sure we do that. Okay. Not only revenues received, but balance forward revenues too, because right. we sometimes don't spend all that we actually have.
Well, that's in your budget, and I have the one from 9/18, and it says you've spent 14,000 of it year to date.
Yeah, I'm not sure which report you have, and I may not have every one of them in front of me here.
But your obligated reserve 4458.
Yeah, obligated reserve.
Fund, yeah.
Okay. I don't have that report right in front of me, but yeah, it's our intent, and you and I talked about it before, about right. making sure we include revenues in our reports. Right. Revenues received, expenditures spent, right. accomplishments, et cetera.
Good. Any other questions, Benny? Commissioner Howe?
I've got one question. The Guzzler book. You print a Guzzler book. It's got like 1,500 Guzzlers now, as I recall.
Yeah, about 15
I remember when it was a half a dozen. It's a $40 book now. How many of them do you sell a year?
I'd have to refer to Kelly Clark, our conservation education chief. She handles all of the publications.
That's a statewide book then.
The statewide book, yeah. 40.
We used to have one for Clark County, and it was just a couple of pages back in the 60s. You know.
Yeah, yeah. Here, just tell me how many in all.
We sell probably about $30,000 or so. If you just do the math, 30,000 divided by 40.
You're asking me to do the math? 700, about 750 to 800 issues sold a year.
Yeah, over the last 5 years, and that has dropped. We're not selling as many, and we're not going to be doing reprints until we have enough money, and then we'll do reprints out of the funds that we receive on the book.
And what is the cost of printing those? I mean, there's a...
The difference between the actual cost of the book and the cost that we're requesting is about $27 cost on the book, and we sell them for $40, so that includes a $5 shipping fee. So.
Thank you.
Any public comment on this report? If not, thank you. Oh, step up.
For the record, Paul Dixon, I'd like to say, and back up where Charlie was, is guzzlers here in southern Nevada were, even when I moved here in '97, were few and far between. I mean, we've done a tremendous amount, and in the last 8 years worth of drought down here, as a bird hunter, I can tell you if we didn't have the guzzler program and the people out there in the field putting stuff in and revamping stuff, we would not have birds in southern Nevada. So it's a tremendously important program, and I'm not quite sure why the commission's worried about where the funding's coming from to pay for the staff to do this, but if the bird hunters are paying a permit fee, as a bird hunter, I can tell you as a citizen, I think that that's money extremely well spent, and being out in the field here in southern Nevada, especially where we've had some large burns like in the Mormons. You know, 3 years ago we had a huge fire, 3 or 4 years ago, and the last 2 years I've been able to go out and limit in chukar and in quail in those mountains, and it's basically because we've had the guzzler projects, and it's only been in the last year we've seen the regrowth of the grasses and stuff after these fires, but it was pretty devastating, and without the guzzlers we wouldn't have any birds here. So thank you.
Commissioner Rain?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just perhaps in the development of the next version of this document, you know, a little breakdown of how that $160,000 or whatever will be in the 2011, excuse me, you know, how that money is spent, maybe a page on, you know, where is it going, if it's broken down, broken down 10,000 of that labor is going to this project. Is that something in there to
Actually,
show that?
The publication or handout that you're looking at is specifically detailed to the Commission for approval of proposed projects for the next year. When we do the biennial report to the legislation, which each one of you get, actually we're to a stage now where we're doing itemized expenditures. And down to the point that a box of nuts and bolts is included in that. I mean, Mr. Claiborne had a considerable interest in that, and the last legislative report we submitted had pages of every purchase we made. And so salary is split up. I cannot say that we split salary up by individual projects. We could. That would just seem to be like we could split it up by total maintenance, total new projects, as far as salaries for our crews go, and that might be helpful. And in the legislative report, it is split up that way because we code that way. We can
somewhat more split up than it was. Not necessarily a box of Kleenex, but something more broke down in a way that it might relieve some of the questions that come up about it.
Well, I would refer you to the legislative report. That's what I would suggest. That is a detailed cost accounting of it, including accomplishments. This publication is meant for your perusal of the specific projects that are being proposed for that next year. So,
and the next edition of that will come out of the legislative.
Well, this was you've just recently in June approved the fiscal year 10, and in June of 10 you'll approve the fiscal year 11 project. So you'll have this as support material for your commission meeting June 11 for this. The legislative report is due 5 days before the session convenes, and that we send out to each one of you also. So I would hope we aren't building more reports instead of getting stuff done on the ground, because that report does detail everything very specifically.
Is this the new one? Didn't the other one, we have a typo in there on number of new units to be built? Did this get corrected in this one?
Which?
Didn't you have in the other report 20 and it was 10 or something like that? Number of new water developments to be built. You've got 15 programmed in FY10.
Let me see. Materials. 10. Approximately 20 units to be maintained, approximately 15 units to be built in southern Nevada.
Yeah, you said that was in misprint and it's supposed to be 5, right? What, sort of 15?
No, I don't remember that. I'll have to check on that.
I remember scratching that out and made a note because
Yeah.
that was a correction.
Let me,
Approximately 5 units to be built. They're under projects, Upland Game Stamp Program
You got down
FY10.
here 15 units to be built, and I think that was a typo, was that? It should have been 5.
5, yes, yeah, that is a typo, yeah. The level Bs are the project-specific reports that accompany that, and it's 5. Should have been 5.
Okay.
And like I've said before in some of these briefings, our main emphasis now with 1,500 and some guzzlers statewide is maintenance.
Yeah.
And we have a 2-person crew down here and a 2-person crew, well, 3-person crew in Winnemucca that are, the crew down here is focusing on upland game. The crew up there focuses on big game and upland game, and maintenance alone is eating our lunch. And I think to protect our investment, the maintenance is what we have emphasized the last 2 or 3 years in our program. So we're working with partners and all of that on new developments, but we're really emphasizing the need to get on top of maintenance on all of our where needed. And that's why you see well over 50% of our guzzlers have been inventoried. And at that time of inventory, we're using helicopters, and they stop and they fix little stuff that they can fix, or they mark, we need to revisit this with a rebuild or whatever, and they get those things accomplished.
No, I think, and the commission thinks it's an excellent program. It's just, you know, they want to make sure, just looking to see how many we're putting on the ground for the dollars we're spending, but it's really an outstanding program there.
Yeah. Well, I'd emphasize the other aspects. It's not just water development that we do here, so.
Right. Commissioner Capurro?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm a big believer in the Guzzler program. I've worked on a few, and I have seen there are areas where we definitely would not have animals without those Guzzler projects. And also the designs clearly of the projects have changed over the years to where they're much more able to withstand long periods of time without maintenance. So it's a program that I think is extremely important for the, you know, in any of the areas such as where you're planning on transplanting animals and that, without adequate water, you know, you've got a real problem. So again, I congratulate you on that. I'm amazed that there are 1,500 of them, though. I want to get a copy of that book, so I'll
$40.
talk to you about it. I'll pay it.
Well, thank you for the comment. I would say that, you know, our folks in the field are the ones that have modified designs, coming up with positive designs. They're the ones that need the credit and deserve the credit. They do a wonderful job, and I'm not going to stand up here and tell you we haven't had our problems. We've had some personnel issues, not personal issues, but people taking other jobs and leaving. So we've had vacancies in these crews over the last couple of years that have impacted our productivity. But we're hoping we're solving some of that, and we've got some full crews now, and we hope we can keep them on for an extended period of time and get even more done. So thank you very much. But I'd give the field folks the biggest bulk of the credit for sure.
Did you buy your Polaris?
We're working on it, and I told them that I would get your notes from the meeting in Fallon, wasn't it? Or no, Lovelock, and make sure they check the prices.
You get a special price.
Good. We'll mention your name.
No, it's the state
Okay,
government agency,
okay.
not me. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on the